Hello, good afternoon. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Sunday 3:30 p.m. demo at the Once Upon a Time crop. Sorry, I'm doing multitasking here, and so my brain shuts down. If you're popping on to watch, just say hello or howdy, and if you're watching later on replay, you can just say replay. And we are going to be looking at some stencils today. And let me just see if I can find the video. There we go. Ta-da! And I don't even have my sound blaring at me. Wonderful. Hey, Joanne. Nice to see you're watching. Howdy, howdy. Yeah, so we're going to be looking at some stencils. And the stencils that we're going to be looking at are the Slimline ones. Let me just pull them out here. These are Slimline stencils, and I'm trying to remember now whether these are in the small catalog or the big catalog. Let me just take a look. So we have our core catalog. Now, because of the unprecedented amount of sales over the course of our Boxing Week sale, which was fabulous, we actually, yes, they are in here. We actually have sold out of a lot of stuff. So if you're looking through the catalog, make sure you double check with the website, and it will let you know if something is out of stock. And it'll just take a little bit of time for stuff to come back in. Some stuff has already come back in, and more stuff is on the way. But it just takes time, right? We gotta love all the supply and demand shortages lately. So the stencil that we're going to be using is this one right here. It's a Slimline stencil, and it is called Slimline Card Front Stencil Pack number 1. And I checked, and yes, it is in stock, so that is awesome. We're also going to be using a thin cut, and I believe that's from this catalog as well. If it's not in this catalog, it's still available online, and it is the Layered Flowers thin cut. So let me just take a quick look here. I should have checked this ahead of time to see where it was in the catalog. I know this one was actually available last year too, and it's such, okay, I'm not going to find it. It's such a great set of thin cuts to have. So it's this one here, and look at all of the thin cuts. In fact, some of them are hidden because I've got the ones that I just used today are just sitting on top. I do that when I'm using my die cut machine and I don't want to lose any stencils or dies. Then I just have my big magnet sheet. Instead of trying to tuck them all back in, I just throw them back on top, and that way the magnet's going to hold on to them. So some of them are in and some of them are not. And these are the Layered Flowers thin cuts. And again, these have been around for a while, but they are still available. And they are really good to use. And then I'm also going to be using a stamp set from the current January to March catalog. It's called Kind of a Pig Deal, and it is super sweet, and you can probably guess who this reminds everyone of. Yes, he looks a lot like Wilbur from Charlotte's Web, or you could even say maybe Babe, you know, from the movie Babe, or the books Babe. So we're going to be using Kind of a Pig Deal, and we're going to be using one of the sentiments from there as well. So let's start off first with the stencils. Now, these are a layering stencil. You can use them individually, or you can use them all together. So there's this one that has circles, interlinked circles all over it. Let me just grab a piece of, I think it's actually easier to see if I put white cardstock underneath. So these are layered circles that kind of have an interlocking thing happening. And then another layer is the sort of thing that goes inside the circle, creating a little bit of a design. And then the last one is this one that has sort of little stylized pluses or diamonds all over it. And so we're going to use those all together to create a fun background for our card. And I decided to keep it monotone. So we're going with 3 different shades, I guess, of one color. And of course, we're going to be making a slimline card, which is 3.5 by 8.5, our slimline card bases. So I'm going to start out with a 3.25 by 8.25 piece of white daisy cardstock. And just because I'm going to be doing stenciling, I'm going to bring in my all-purpose mat and throw it down here. Got dusty. And protect my Versamat and my work surface. And there we have our piece of white daisy cardstock. The first layer that I want to work with is the one that has the interlocking circles. And I'm just going to kind of line it up here so it gets a little bit centered on my card. And you can kind of look at where the patterns are and adjust as you want. And then I'm just going to hold my hand here and hope for the best. I don't want to add any tape or anything because I don't want the tape to be in the way. So the first ink color that I'm going to use is Sage. Let me grab my handy dandy little holder. Since I'm working with one hand here, maybe I'll actually scooch a little bit so I can have it up. There we go. So I've got my Sage ink. Go ahead and open that there. And then I'm going to use my blending brush, these lovely soft blending brushes to work with my stencil. And I want to add just a light coating of Sage all over my card front. And I just like to go in little circles. And the great thing about these blending brushes is that you can go very lightly with them. You can go dark, but you can go very lightly. And it just creates such a beautiful glow of color on your projects. So we're just going to work our way all the way around, adding color. It doesn't even have to be even. You can decide for yourself whether you want your inking to be even or whether you want some dark spots, some light spots. It's totally up to you in that regard. And I'm going to have to move my fingers out of the way a bit just to keep on going. I don't use any sprays or anything on my stencils. I just hope for the best and hold it with my fingers. And as long as I don't shift it too much, I'll be just fine. And if it does shift, I just line it back up and keep going. Easy peasy. So there we go. We've got a nice layer of Sage all over our project. And I'm going to move that to the side. And I can remove this and I'll wash that later. And doesn't that create such a lovely pattern? I think even just like that is just a gorgeous pattern just to start with, right? I love how they look interlaced. And it kind of like looks garden-y to me. Doesn't that look garden-y to you? I thought so. Hey, Mary. Nice to see her watching. Kimberly's here, too. Hey, Kimberly. And my mummy's here. And Michelle's here. And Carol's here. Yay. The gang's all here. All right. So the next color I want to use is avocado, which is one of my favorite green colors. So we're going to get avocado open here. And I'm bringing in the second layer. And just going to line it up. And this will go inside those circles. So you just kind of line it all up till you're happy with where it is. And then you just go ahead, start adding more. Now, I use one blending brush for all my greens. If I'm going from like a really dark green to a really light green, I'll take a tissue or something and I'll kind of scrub it off on there. But it doesn't hold lots and lots and lots of ink like foam does, so it's okay. And this time I'm going from light to dark, so I can just go ahead and start adding my color. And this is such a fun pattern. I haven't really used it much. And now that I've tried it and played with it, I think I'm going to have to use it some more. And because these are slimline, they're meant for a longer length, and so that makes it really quick and easy to do it on a layout as well. You could go down the edge of a 12 by 12 page. Pretty simple because it's already big enough for just slightly over 8.5 inches, right? And because it's a very geometric pattern, this one in particular, it's easy to line it up and shift it down in order to extend the pattern, right? So we just go ahead and add our avocado. So we're layering ink on top of ink right now. So that's one thing to be aware of. If you're using different colors, you want to test your colors first and make sure that your colors play well with each other. There are some ink colors in the world, just like people, who don't play well with others. And so you want to test them before you try them on a layout or on a project, just to make sure everything looks good. And these three colors of green that I'm going to use today, they seem to play okay together. So there we go. We've now done our avocado second layer, just like that. And I will wash my stamps later, or my stencils, sorry. So there we go. So you can see how that pattern just nestles inside. I love that that crisp white ring is still showing. And then we still have one more layer. So I'm going to bring in my last ink color, which is New England Ivy. And this is actually a retired color, but I like to use what I have. And I have New England Ivy, and I love it. It was my favorite green color until I found avocado. And so, you know what? You still use it. Just because it's retired doesn't mean you don't like it anymore. And so let's line this up. And these little diamondy shapes are going to go in the center of the circles and also in the little diamonds in between the circles. So just take your time and give it a good minute to line up there. Now this one, because there's less holes, you're going to have to hold on to it really good so nothing shifts. And then we're going to add our darkest green on here, that New England Ivy. Oops. There we go. And I like to swirl clockwise, counterclockwise. It helps to get in all the little nooks and crannies. And the brushes are really good for that as well. I was just checking to see if anybody had commented. I don't see any comments. I shall continue. So we're just going to go over the whole thing. And like I said before, you can add as much or as little ink as you want. Because this is the darkest color, I'm kind of trying to be a little more heavy-handed to make sure I get those little diamonds really showing up well. Stenciling it's kind of relaxing. As long as you're not worried about it shifting. And, you know, I find it kind of relaxing because you're just, you know, round and round and round. You just keep going until you're done. It's not a lot of stress. It's not like coloring something where you got to stay in the lines. This is plenty easier than that. And then we'll go down here. Now, if you don't like getting ink all over your fingers, then you could have a little scrap piece of paper or a sticky note or something that you can kind of move around and put under your fingers, because you will get green fingers or whatever color you're using. It's just inevitable that with stenciling. And so if you don't like that, then either wear gloves or have a little piece of paper that you can hold it with. So there we go. We have done our stenciling. Doesn't that look cool? I think that's such a funky design. And you can do it with different colors, just keeping in mind that they're going to layer one on top of the other. And so you want to make sure that they work together. And as I said before, you don't have to use them all together either. You could use the separate stencils by themselves. Now, they might look a little odd by themselves. Some of the layers, maybe that center layer might look odd by itself. But the other ones look great. So I'm just going to roll this up quick and I'll wash that off later. And let's get to putting together our card. So I have my card base just like this. And then the first layer that I want to attach is some lovely glitter paper. So pretty. Now, here's a little tip. I'm going to use this full piece of glitter paper, but a little tip that a lot of people do is if you're going to use a full piece of glitter paper for on here like this, and you say to yourself, gee, that's wasting a lot of glitter paper. And look at that. I've got my size a little funky. Wonder how I did that. Oh, I cut this one too short. Oh, well. We can just trim our card later. I guess I cut two of them, and one of them was shorter than the other. So this glitter paper, a little handy tip. If you don't want to waste the stuff that's going to get covered up, get out a punch or a die cut and cut a few things out of the center, making sure not to go near the edge. And then you've used some of that center. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to just stick it down. Now I am going to now need to adjust the size of my card, which is perfectly fine. Let me just grab my paper trimmer. I might as well do it before I put everything together. So that was 7 3/4 instead of 8 1/4. So 7 3/4. So let me just double check that. Double check. Yes. 7 3/4. So we want 8. And we'll adjust the card base to 8. Easy peasy. There's always a solution, right? Oops, that didn't quite cut all the way. 2 layers of cardstock and I'm off the edge of my table. Yeah. That's not the first time I've cut a piece of paper wrong, right, ladies? Okay, let's try this again. When it's too big, it's okay, because then you just trim it off. But we'll just adjust our card size. It'll be unique. So if any of you get this in the mail, just know you got a unique card. And I'm going to go ahead and add my lovely mulberry glitter. And you're probably going to guess that there's going to be some mulberry on here later, and you would be correct. That would make sense why we're using mulberry. But it looks pretty with all these greens, I think. So we're going to go and add that to the card front. Just like that. So sparkly and pretty. And I love, look at our glitter paper. I just cut the edges on that and I'm getting no glitter on my hands. Now, the tricky part with glitter is that you need liquid adhesive to stick your things down to it. And so I'm going to grab my liquid adhesive, and you need a decent amount of liquid adhesive because it's got to get in the nooks and crannies of that glitter. So there we go. And then we're going to center this on our glitter paper, just like that. And then what I would advise is to add something on top to weight it down. So let me just grab one of my stamping blocks, maybe a couple stamping blocks, maybe another stamping block, and just hold it down there because it might want to kind of pop up, and we don't really want that. So let's scooch this over while we get working on some other things. Now, to decorate ours, remember that layering flower thin cuts that we have? We are going to layer up some flowers. So I have some pieces that I have cut. This is the honey butter cardstock, and I cut the base on the true color side, and then I flipped it over and I cut this topper on the light side. It's not a lot of variation, but it's a little bit. If you want, you could add some inking to it. And then I cut out the smaller one. Let me just get these parts apart. And I did the opposite. So the base was cut on the light side, and then the topper was cut on the dark side. And then I cut out this little center for that one, because, you know, your little flower has to have a center. And then I cut out of mulberry this little flower. So my base is the dark one, my topper is the light one. And this one, I always like to look for this little leaf or petal that has the little pointy bit. And that's an easy way to line it up. As soon as you have that pointy bit, you know you've got it in the center. But you can see that the center of this, when you punch that out, don't throw it away. I'm going to use it for the center of this flower. So now what we're going to do is we're going to layer these up and glue them together. And so you know me, we're going to do the trick where we put the glue on our hand, just like that. And we're going to tap, 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 and get some glue on the back. This leaf also has a little pointy end on it, and that makes it super easy to line up. And I just like to kind of put my fingers on either side of the petals to make sure they're lining up, and just squish them on down, just like that. Then our little center here, we can add, just tap, tap, stick it in the middle, like so. And we're going to move on to this one. Tap, tap in the glue. Tap, tap, tap. And pick this one up. Has anybody played with these before? These are fun layering die cuts. And you know what? If you're ever bored one day and you can't think of what to do, just grab some cardstock and these and make up a whole bunch of flowers. And then when you go to work on a project, your flowers will already be made for you. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to spend the time to do it. You can just pop a few flowers onto something. Easy peasy. And a little bit more glue here. We're going to go and add this one. Tap, 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 tap. I like to put the glue in this part of my hand, because that's a part of my hand that's not ever going to really touch paper. And so I don't have to worry about suddenly sticking my gluey hand into something. It's just not likely to happen. And then we can grab the center and get some glue on there and stick it on down. I love how there's some stitched elements to those centers. That's very cute. All right, now let's bring our card base back in. You remember I said I was going to stamp out the little piggy. Well, I did it ahead of time because you guys have seen me color before. And so let me just show you what it looks like uncolored on my sort of crazy piece of white daisy paper. So there's our little piggy. We've stamped him out. And then I took some of my tri-blend markers. So I have my True Black, my Citrus Yellow, Pale Pink, Fair Skin, and Dull Green. And so here's my little piggy. So the body of the piggy I colored with the Fair Skin Medium and Dark. And then the Pale Pink I colored with the darkest one on some of the little flowers. And then the citrus are the 3 larger flowers, and then the dull green is for the leaves, and then the black I just colored in this little ledge that he's sitting on. So that's what I did. You guys don't want to see me color all the time. I'm sure some of you might like watching it, but I'm sure others of you are like, yeah, we've seen that before. So I'm going to give my little guy here some foam tape on the back. And stick them like so. And there. Like that. And that's good. Okay, now I'm not going to stick him down yet because I have to decide where my little flowers are going to go. You'll notice I have 3 flowers. I thought that was a good number because we like odd things, right? Odd things make our brain happy. So I also cut out a couple leaves. So there's this leafy cluster here, and I cut that out using just black cardstock. And then also this single little leaf I cut out using black cardstock because I thought that would kind of tone down a lot of the color and pattern that's happening. And it just provides a nice base. Plus I colored this in black as well. So let's go ahead and attach our little leafies here. We're going to need a little bit more glue. And when I do leaves, I try to just aim for the center stem, and I let the leaves themselves kind of float free free like a bird. I don't know if it's exactly free like a bird, but we're going to let it float free. And then I want to add on my larger flower here. And I think I will use a little bit of thin foam tape, if I can find that. That is the regular kind. That is the regular kind. This is, oh my goodness. I've got all the regulars. Let me see. There we go. I'm going to open a new one. I go through a lot of foam tape, apparently. I thought I still had some, but no. So let's grab some foam tape. When you get the foam tape, you get two different widths. They're really stuck together this time. You get two different widths. You get narrow and you get wider. And then you can also get thick or regular foam tape, or you can get the thin. And the thin is half the depth of the regular. So let's just pop the little starter tab off of there and add some foam tape in behind our flower. There we go. And again, I like to leave my petals free floating. If I wanted to, I could add a little bit of curl onto my petals. Just lift a little bit in the center and then kind of roll them around your finger. You know, it's not necessary, but you can kind of do that if you like to. And we're just going to stick this little guy on there like that. And then this little one, we'll give him a little bit of a curl too. Why not? We don't want to have him feeling left out. And also a little bit of foam tape just to pop up the center, create a bit of depth. Now, if you use a ball stylus, you can do a lot of fun things with flowers and popping them up and doing all sorts of fun things like that. And so, you know, the sky's the limit when it comes to flowers. So let me see where I'm going to put this one. Maybe I'll move a little bit over and put it just kind of tucking out from behind his ear like that. There we go. And so now let's go ahead and put our piggy down. Just like this. Take off the foam tape backing. And we're going to kind of tuck him behind there. And stick him down. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. And then we've got our little leaf and our other little floral. So let's create a little bit of dimension on this one. Why not? Don't want it to be left out. And we'll also add a little bit of foam tape on here. There we go. And the little leaf, I suppose we could kind of curl him a little bit too. But I think we'll just stick him down with some glue. We just got to get an eye on where we want to put it. Maybe right there. And then, oh, that one's already got the sticky taken off. Do you want it under? Maybe we do. Maybe we want it over. Maybe we do. I think we'll put it over. Just like that. So cute. Now we want to add our little sentiment on here. And I chose the sentiment here that says, "You're kind of a pig deal." And I've got a little piece of mulberry cardstock. I think it's 1 inch by 2.5 inches or something. And I need my ink. Where did I put it? It's underneath the thin cuts. Just hiding out. So grab my black ink. We're going to ink this up and stamp our sentiment. Are you loving how that stencil looks in behind? I think it's so cool. Okay, I'm going to have to bring this right close to me, because otherwise I'll never get it straight. Probably got my head in the camera too. There we go. You're kind of a pig deal. And of course I didn't flip it over and use the foam on the back, but you know, it'll be okay. And then I wanted to kind of decide if yes, I'm definitely going to tuck it in there like that. And did I want to dovetail? There's not a lot of space for dovetailing. Let me just take a boo. Yeah, maybe I will. We're just going to put the tiniest little dovetail. A snip in, and then from the corner to the top of the snip, and then from this corner to the top of the snip, just like that. And we're going to keep it nice and flat because everything else is popped up. And we will just tuck it in under here like this. What do you think of this little piggy? This little piggy, he's so cute. You know this the rhyme, this little piggy went to market. This little piggy is cute. There we go. You're kind of a pig deal. So we used our Slimline card, slightly modified because, you know, things happen. And we've added in some Mulberry Glitter paper to give a little pizzazz to our base. Then we've got that stenciled layers going on in the background with our sage and avocado and New England ivy. Then we have our black base here with the floral, the leaves, the foliage, that's the word. The foliage kind of matching with this little ledge he's sitting on. And I think that kind of takes away some of the sweet that's happening. And then just a couple of those layered florals tucked in around and matching the colors of the florals in his little crown there on his head. And then, of course, our sentiment, you're kind of a big deal. Oh my goodness, it is so cute. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing how those stencils work and seeing those layered die cuts come together to create the florals. Have a wonderful afternoon. If you create something like this with a stencil, be sure to take a photo and pop it in the comments under where I post the photos of this card. I would love, love, love to see them. And we will be back on this evening from 7 until whenever we're too tired to craft this evening. And have a wonderful evening. Toodaloo. Bye.